Another type of equation we're going to look at is equations that contain rational exponents. And so a rational exponent just means an exponent that is a fraction. Or a rational number in this case specifically. Something like 1/2, 2/3, and so on. I wanted to ask you first to compare something. What is the square root of 144? And the square root of 144 is 2. The cube root of 8 means what do I cube to get 8? And that is 2. The fourth root of 81 is what do I raise to the fourth to get 81? And that would be 3. And then on your calculator, so what you would do is enter 144 raised to the 1/2 power, where the 1/2 is in parentheses. And if you do that, so if we do 144, the exponent key, parentheses 1 divided by 2, close parentheses, you're going to get 12. 8 to the 1/3, again, if you do 8, exponent key, in parentheses 1 divided by 3, you'll find out that you will get 2. 81 to the 1/4 in a similar fashion will give us 3. So what I want you to see here is that the square root of 144 is the same thing as 144 to the 1/2. The cube root of 8 is the same thing as 8 to the 1/3. The fourth root of 81 is the same thing as 81 to the 1/4. And so a rational exponent is equivalent to a radical expression. Specifically, x to the 1 divided by n is the nth root of x. X to the m divided by n is very similar, except we have to look at one additional thing. Remember that x to the m divided by n is really x to the 1 divided by n raised to the m. Do you recall that when we raise an exponential expression to another exponent, we multiply the exponents? This is equivalent to the nth root of x to the m exponent. That is also the same thing as the nth root of x to the m. And so we'll apply this with an example. We want to look at 9 to the 1/2. So 9 to the 1/2 is equivalent to the square root of 9, which is just 3. Negative 9 to the 1/2, the negative is not tied to the base, so that's really the opposite of the square root of 9, which is the opposite of 3. Negative 9 in parentheses to the 1/2. Now the base is negative 9, so this is equivalent to the square root of negative 9, which is not a real number, but the square root of negative 9 is an imaginary number. We can write that as 3i. 9 to the 5/2 means to do the square root of 9 to the 5th, or to the 5. Square root of 9 is 3, and 3 to the 5 is 243. Eight to the negative 2/3 is the cube root of 8 to the negative 2. The cube root of 8 is 2. 2 to the negative 2, recall that the negative exponent means to do the reciprocal. That's really 1 divided by 2 squared, or 1 divided by 4. So I've heard this, if you have trouble remembering if m or n is the root, if you think about a root of a tree, a root grows down, right? And so the denominator, the value that's in down, right, the down position, is going to be the root. So n is my root, of x is my base, and m is the exponent that's raised to.